We know that there's about 4,000 vacant lots in the community, in the Englewood community, and they are going to be vacant for a while because there's nothing online to do with them. You know, the housing thing is not going to turn around for the next few years. So, I mean, instead of having it grown up in green grass and the sand blowing, you know, we could be putting gardens on that and teaching people how to garden and making food available for the local residents.
I just wanted to first acknowledge the strong relationship that we have with UIC, with Teamwork Englewood, as well as the Greater Englewood Garden Association. I am a new president here at the campus, but I certainly look forward to continuing that relationship and even furthering it here on our campus. Also just wanted to quickly say that KKC definitely supports this initiative and the emerging green industry, as well as aim to become a major hub for urban sustainability, education, information, and job training. I just think this event is wonderful, and I just wanted to personally say that over the past year, I made a personal commitment to better and healthy eating because in my family, heart disease is very prevalent, and it's very prevalent overall in the African American community. And after learning that I had very high cholesterol, I said I wanted to act now and make sure that I do things now to make sure that I have a healthy future. So I personally look forward to this event and having these type of activities on our campus.
So in this community, in spite of the fact that we sit in the middle of one of the largest cities in the country, surrounded by over 100 hospitals, thousands of physicians, in this community and other communities like this, twice as many of our babies die before they reach a year old as in the citywide community. In this community, more people at every age, whether it's 2 years old or 62 years old, like me, are obese. These are serious challenges to our health, and we heard the president talk about the challenge in his own family, as many of our families have, with heart disease or diabetes or some other medical problem that shortens our lives and cripples our senior years. But I'm going to suggest to you that if we use our common sense, we can understand how these pieces of puzzles fit together. So we have a dilemma. It's the same dilemma we have when we decide what bills to pay or what we do when we get up in the morning. We have to match our individual desires and skills and likes with what our family or our neighborhood or our block like. Because you know, when I'm riding in the car with my grandchildren, what they want to listen to is not what I want to listen to. So the interaction between what we do and decide as individuals is important, but it can't be done in isolation. It has to be understood in the context of what else is out there. Let me be specific. When I was a little girl, growing up in Cleveland, you know, Elijah Muhammad always said, "You are what you eat." Right? Y'all remember that. You old people remember that. Okay? And I don't want to minimize the individual choices we have to make to try to have a healthy diet, or to try to exercise, or to try to be spiritually renewed. Because, you know, if you don't try to do these things as individuals, it's a limit. You're limited on what you can do. So what's cheaper, a can of pop or a bunch of grapes? What's cheaper, the frozen fish sticks or fresh vegetables? The reality is that those people in our communities that live on food stamps, if they were to buy what we know is a healthy diet for their families, they would run out of food stamps in the second week because those foods are simply more expensive. So you see, what happens to us as individuals is related to what happens to our families and our communities and the people around us, where we live, the context in which we live. If I had been alive 150 years ago, somewhere in Mississippi, what I eat today, I'd be skinny as a rail and starving to death, because I'd have been out in the field picking cotton, and I couldn't have made it on the food that I eat today, right? Now today, I'm not out picking no cotton. I sit myself on my desk at work, and the most physical thing I have to do is punch those computer keyboards. You have to take what you do as an individual and put it in the context of where you are.
The people in this community really have an opinion about what they want. What we need to make sure that when we move to the next step, is we move to make them, to teach them, to empower them to know that this is what you need to do to know better and to get better. It was an exciting project. I was happy to participate, and I hope as you go along today, you learn and you hear some of the exciting things that we had. One of the pieces that I always talk about when we went on the bus tour, there was a young man who was the primary cook and shopper for the family, so we took them to Pete's. When he walked in the door, he says, "Man, it smells good in here." And then as we were walking around, he went to buy an apple. So he picked up the apple and he put it in his basket. Pete's employee came and put that same one apple right back. And they followed him around to service him. And he said to me, and I will never forget this, he says, "First time I ever went in the store and got followed and they didn't think I was stealing anything." So if he was so excited about the fact that this store was there to please him, to make these things available to him, just think what would happen if that young man, who was the male head of the household, if he had the access and the knowledge to know what was healthy and what was good, just think how better our community would be.
We can embark on beautification projects by creating community gardens that can do the following. Offer solutions to the food desert issue plaguing our community. Provide sources where fresh vegetables can be found. Create farmer markets where vegetables can be sold. Provide healthy alternatives for our youth. We all know that when we walk into our community corner stores, the first thing you see are Flamin' Hot Cheetos, candy bars, and I forgot the name of it. Hot crunchy cheese curls. That's what everybody's eating now, all the children. But wouldn't it be nice if you can walk into your community corner store and the first thing you see are fresh fruits and vegetables?
A food injustice is an inequity in access to healthy food. Actually, a very simple concept when you think about injustice. Injustice can be defined as an inequity in access. And that access doesn't only have to be geographic. So a lot of work is around geographic access. I have a store in my neighborhood, or are there grocery stores in low income and communities of color? People think about that. They focus in on that. They have a term for that. Many people have called it food deserts or the grocery gap, or, they have several terms to refer to the lack of grocery stores or healthy food products in low-income and minority communities. But food injustice and inequity actually includes more. it's not just geographic inequity, but it could be inequity in income. So there could be 100 stores in a community. If people can't afford healthy foods, it really is not going to benefit them. Even if the food is there, they won't be able to purchase it. So prices have to be right, availability has to be there, jobs for people to have income to spend to purchase those foods, time to prepare those foods. So really when you think about the food injustice, control over the sale of those foods, the production. So a lot of people think about participation of communities of color and low-income individuals in the whole food system, in control of that food system. So it really is a simple concept when you think about food justice as inequity. But the inequity is complex. You know, the inequities can be across the board, where people don't have control, they don't have things that they can get or access, and they can't use it. So food has to be able to be used at the household level. So there can even be inequity in the resources that people have available to do that. And that could even be inequity in preparation skills, inequity in facilities to prepare food. So food injustice is really a simple way of talking about all of those things.
I'm here today to listen to what you all have to say and learn myself, to see how I can continue to support those efforts, to see what kind of challenges are there, and see how we can intertwine this kind of initiative within the public school system, because children need to know. And the shopping is so important. Shopping in the stores is so important in terms of our health and our wealth. Whether you buy a Del Monte product or whether you buy off-brand product that is a corn product or a bean product or a rice product or white rice or brown rice, offering the same kind of vegetable but at a better rate for you and your family to afford is something that people and children need to be taught right now.
In the state, we have something called the Illinois Farm Bureau, and the Illinois Farm Bureau is essentially the body for the entire state of Illinois that supports farming, supports agribusiness, that agriculture is definitely a business, and that's why it's called agribusiness. So I have been working very diligently to forge a partnership with the Illinois Farm Bureau, that even though we don't have farms in the 32nd District, we still have needs for fresh foods. So again, I know that this is a time for question and answer. I'm happy to answer any questions that I can from a state perspective. I'm trying to work with my alderman. This is my alderman here, Willie Cochran from the 20th Ward, and actually I have 7 aldermen that I work with. And in developing those partnerships and working with all the aldermen, it's important that we address the issues, especially dealing with vacant lands, and especially in Englewood, that we talked about a lot of the refuse and the way that these vacant lots are being underutilized. And in fact, I believe that people are products of their environment. When children come out and they see a vacant lot with garbage all over the place, that has to affect their psyche. But if they're seeing a vacant lot that's clean and green, again, that has an impact on their psyche. So those are things that I want to work with you on, and I'm open to answer any questions that you may have.
What can you do to stop the food additives that obese the products, the chickens, the cows that people eat, and that chemical goes into human beings, causing them also to be impacted by weight gains?
From a state perspective, I think it's important that we make sure that we've adequately developed our relationship with the USDA. The USDA is the governmental entity, the federal entity that regulates all the things that you were talking about. So again, that's why the beauty of a forum like this is that I can take the information that you're giving me, take it in my mind, develop it, and reach out to my congressmen, reach out to my senators, and also reach out to the other federal officials that we can work with the USDA to address some of those issues that you mentioned.
One of my concerns is, as major food chains begin to move into our communities, how do we prevent racism? An example, there is a jewel in one of the South Side communities. When you enter this jewel store, and you know how you're in line at the grocery lines, if you turn around, often there's other food lanes behind you if you want to go back and grab something. In this particular jewel, the liquor department spans across the front of the store, which I see as just blatant disrespect of the Black community to put the liquor and make it more accessible than food. And so that, as well as higher prices and other things that we've heard that food chains do in our community, how can policymakers prevent that as we take this move to try to get groceries into in our communities?
Racism is something that we have been dealing with since forever. 1492, Columbus came and discovered America and the Indians. It's been going on ever since then. And it's a constant battle even today for me as I try to get people employed and on construction sites. There's all that is an issue on a constant basis. And so we can never take our gloves off, and we can never think that that is going to go away. We just have to keep fighting through it.
My question is really to Alderman Cochran. The Englewood Neighborhood TIF covers 4 of the wards within the greater Englewood community. It does sit in 2016, 17, as well as 6. Are there any plans within that TIF that could support the healthy food options in terms of grocery stores or any other vacant lots that you know of that you guys have been working on?
Well, the TIF is in place to do exactly that. To support infrastructure and developers who want to come in and build in our community. That's one of the reasons that we initiated that. That's one of the reasons that the state legislators voted to enact that many years ago. And so one of the courses of my general behavior is to reach out to retailers, to reach out to anyone that can come into our community and invest and give us the products that we need to be a supportive community.
So I guess my question is, are there any particular plans or specific retailers that you've been shopping around in terms of healthy food options within the community?
One of the things that we've been doing here in Englewood is there's a distributor, a food distributor, right at 59th and Normal. Not Normal.
It's like Stuart, are they what you talk the factory?
Yes.
Okay.
We're trying to expand their footprint so that we can create more jobs and also give them a bigger warehouse so they can distribute throughout the community in a greater way. We're working on an urban agricultural initiative in Washington Park, supporting the agricultural initiatives that have started in Englewood, and having a conversation with Kennedy King as we speak about trying to create a curricula that could support this type of education and job development. Because when you talk about healthy food, when you start talking about creating community gardens, it goes much, much further. My intent is to go much further than to create a community garden. I want to get children involved in this. We want to get children to know what it means for how food works into the transportation system, how it works into managing a grocery store, how it works into becoming a doctor, and other things like that. And so just food is just one piece of it. Community garden is just one piece of it. Urban agriculture is just one piece of it. There's so many pieces to this that we have to develop that gives our children, our young educators and educated ways to become more independent and self-sufficient and be involved in the whole food chain as it is described.
When it comes to, I guess, selling fruits and vegetables as generally healthy options, compared to a lot of the junk food that we see, traditionally, what is more profitable for, this is to Walgreens and the Food for Less people, what it really is more profitable, because everyone, you hear a lot of stuff, but it's once and for all, I kind of want to know if myself, what really is more profitable, just the greens, or is it the junk food?
Generally, you make a little more profit off the junk food because it's made up of junk. And, I mean, it doesn't cost much to produce it, so, you know, the cost of it is relative to how much we sell it for. So therefore, you make more profit off of it.
A lot of the kids come in on routine. They come in, go straight for the hot flamings and the drink, and pay like $2 and dip out. While I think it'd be I guess like help to change the routine if you made the first thing they saw was apples. Have like some apple advertisements. So some bananas. Have that like the front of store, like the first thing that they see. The first thing that the parents would see would be the green stuff versus the green stuff is wherever it may be in like the store, just like change it up a little bit. Maybe that might help. Is that like plausible at all, or that like affects profits or something like that?
The store layout is designed not so much by engineers but by merchants, right? If I go into Food for Less today and the first thing I see is candy, which by the way it's not, but I have to make the choice to walk past the candy to find the produce, if that's what I want. If I make the choice to buy the candy, then therein is part of the problem. I think Dr. Murray spoke about it this morning so eloquently. We've got to make the better choice. If we make the right choice, then any business will respond to what the customer is responding to themselves.
What is it that has to happen that we can have a working relationship with those that come into the community and work with the grassroots people and those that are residents that live here, so we can get the food and the crime or whatever else we need to have in this particular community?
Again, I work for the Walgreens right across the street, and we actually have several employees from this area. We also are open to programs. We've had programs with relationships with great programs such as Team Englewood, where we had groups of individuals come in and work in the store, and then in hopes to possibly hiring someone who showed work ethic and was prepared to do the job. So we definitely opened that. We also dealt with the program, putting Illinois to work. We hired 2 people from this area through that program. So I think these programs are definitely good gateways to getting people within the community employed, and we're open to it, and we embrace it, and we look forward to it.
I think someone spoke about the applicants and the future applicants here. I want the best and most valuable applicants out there. Don't have to have retail or food experience. I need somebody with a willingness to work, learn, grow. That's what we're looking for. Dependability, reliability. So that's what I look for in an applicant. Enthusiasm and dependability.
Fighting for scraps, right? Fighting for scraps and positioning. It's easier to position one group because for a long time, the loans that were given to the Arab stores and other stores that opened up in the hood, no one wanted these stores. No one wanted to run these stores. No one wanted to be here. The Krogers and the Save-A-Lots, they weren't getting the big federal subsidies that they're getting now to be able to be in these neighborhoods, right? And to come in, the incentivizing was not there.
I thought today was an extraordinary opportunity to have critical community voices come together with political representatives, with folks who are in kind of dealing with this issue of health and wellness from a corporate perspective, along with real grassroots community voices in a very important institution in Englewood. So I thought, first of all, the space that was created was absolutely, imperative, given the types of challenges that we need. And overall, I just thought the level of conversation, the suggestions, the ideas that came out of this were very inspiring.
This is one of the many communities that support us. And in return, we're going to reach out and be part of the solutions and helping to continue to serve the community as well. Talk about the opportunities that the community challenges, and how we can foster with them to solve those problems. So it's important that we give back to those communities.
One of the things that we've been looking at as an organization has been the support of the community. I think one of the best things that was able to be expressed here was just how many different people are able to come out to support such an important, healthy, and kind of nutritious kind of message in the community. And I think that that's the best message that I took. And that I'm taking back to my supervisors and my administrators that there is a lot of support here. And we're just located maybe 2-3 blocks away from here. And we're definitely looking for that support to come up with some of the new programs that we're looking at.
It's important that the parishioners here in Englewood and as well as other communities have access to healthy foods, will eat properly and get the proper exercise, because we want them to be whole totally, not just spiritually.
I know that there's a lot happening in Englewood. There's a lot planned for Englewood, but there are still lives of people presently here today that need some assistance. And so the city has planned for the future, but they have kind of forgotten that there is a now and a today, that this type of environment and organization, this type of meeting helps us.
When you start looking at the seepage of dollars that come from the zip codes that are going outside the community, it proves that we have the resources to support a big box. And so therefore we have to change the philosophy and the thinking of those stores.
Again, you can see here what the interests of the constituents are, is that essentially better food choices. That is the key. I mean, we have a food desert in Englewood, which is just absolutely, completely not adequate. Okay? These are things that have to be addressed, and it's going to take some time, but it has to also include innovative thinking as well. So again, all the ideas that I've heard today they're not novel concepts, that I've heard a lot of them before, but seeing the actual participation of the constituents, how involved they are and how moved they are to try to see these things come to fruition gives me some more gas and gives me some more motivation to try to make that a reality in Springfield.